It's preparing to live stream. The meeting is being live streamed. Got it. We're live.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bobby. If you don't mind allowing the parties to come in now, I'd appreciate it.
Preparing to live stream. The meeting is being live streamed. Got it. We're live.
Thank you, Bobby. If you don't mind allowing the parties to come in now, please. I'd ask the council and parties to unmute themselves, please. Judge Rangel, could you unmute yourself, please? She may not be in front of her computer. At this time, I apologize for the delay. We had a little trouble getting on YouTube. I'm going to go on and call the cause number. It is in re inquiry concerning the Honorable Bonnie Rangel, CJC numbers 21-0483, 21-0802, 21-1294, and 21-1609. This is a special court of review appointed by the Texas Supreme Court. Sitting as the justices on the special court of review. I'll let them introduce themselves, and I'll start with our Corpus Edinburgh contingent.
Leticia Hinojosa from 13th Court. Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Scott Goldman, I'm Chief Justice of the 9th District Court of Appeals in Beaumont.
Thank you very much. And I am Brian Quinn. I am Chief Justice of the 7th Court of Appeals. On the person monitoring this is the court clerk for the 7th Court of Appeals, Bobby Ramirez, and we have Claudia Jenks on behalf of the Supreme Court also monitoring. I have in my office here one of my staff attorneys, Allison Palmer, too. She'll be monitoring it as well. Again, apologies for the delay in starting up, but we had some YouTube problems. Given that this is a public hearing, according to the statutes, we thought the best way to do would be go live on YouTube as we did during the pandemic. Appreciate your appearance. Let me have the parties and counsel acknowledge or introduce themselves. Let's start with representatives of the Texas Commission on Judicial Conduct. Who do we have?
Hello, Your Honors. My name is Zindia Thomas. I'm the General Counsel for the State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Phil Robertson. I'm counsel for the State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Okay.
Good
And
morning.
those are the only two for the commission, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Cardenas, I guess you're next.
Yes, good morning, Justices. Carlos Cardenas. I'm an attorney from El Paso, and I'm representing Judge Bonnie Rangel, who is present today.
Thank you. And Judge Rangel, would you introduce yourself, please? Just
Good
for the-
morning. Yes, sir. Good morning, Justices. My name is Bonnie Rangel, Judge of the 171st Judicial District. I want to apologize. I could not unmute or release my video. The host was controlling, so I apologize for that.
It's he likes the power of controlling the Zoom. No, that's quite all right. That's quite
I
all right.
apologize.
No need to apologize. We've all been experiencing a little bit of problems this morning with the IT. The purpose of this is to discuss preliminary matters. As I understand, and correct me if I am wrong, Ms. Thomas. Is it okay if I call you Ms. Thomas?
That's fine.
Okay. The proceeding in front of the commission was an informal proceeding, correct?
Correct.
So this proceeding in front of us is a de novo review, basically, correct?
Correct.
And with that, we would like to talk with you preliminary matters, pretrial matters, and get a date for a hearing. As you know, the statute requires a hearing within 30 days of the filing of the charging instrument. If I'm not mistaken, the charging instrument was filed on October 7th. 30 days from that should be November 6th, which is a Sunday. And I'm assuming the rules of civil procedure apply. And if I'm mistaken, correct me, since the last day is a Sunday, it'd roll over to the Monday, which is the 7th. So that is the first day we're looking at. And of course, that is subject to motion for continuance or continuance for good cause. And we can discuss about that first or in a little bit. What I would like to know, just generally, is an idea of what your evidence is going to be at this point, how much time you think it's going to take to present to both sides, whether or not you anticipate any preliminary motions aside from a motion for continuance, any type of motion that would dispose of the case one way or the other. I know in prior hearings, some motions have been filed addressing that, but I'd like to hear that, and then we will talk about the scheduling, given that information. So with that, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call you the state, the representatives of the commission, I'll call you the state. It's easier for me to remember that. So I'll go with the state first on that.
Your Honor, probably the only issue, at least coming with evidence, is that there will be videos that we'll need to show y'all. There'll be probably about 4 of them that we're going to need to show you during the trial. And other than the other 9B materials that we have with our charge, that's probably the only evidence I think that we're going to need, to actually be shown in court that day.
Okay, you said other 9B materials?
Yeah, so with the charge, we gave you exhibits. Those were the exhibits in which the commission used to decide the sanctions that they gave Judge Rangel in those cases. So those are also will be probably part of our witness and exhibit list that we'll send you once we know the hearing, once you give us the schedule on when we are to turn in that information.
Okay,
Let me interrupt just real quick, Ms. Thomas. I know some of those videos are approximately or in excess of 2 hours long. Are y'all going to be just taking clips out of those extended videos that contain possibly irrelevant other hearings instead of showing the videos in their entirety?
Yes, we'll just be doing the clips of which we used in order for the commission to decide the sanctions.
Okay, thank you.
just curiously, one of the things we're going to ask you to do is a trial brief, basically, explaining your position. Would you be able to, with regard to those clips, give us the time frame in each video and make it relate? Well, mention those in your trial briefs so we can refer to those particular clips while reading the trial briefs.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll tell you exactly where in those videos that we say is the demeanor issue for Judge Rangel.
Okay. Do you anticipate any type of pretrial motions?
I do not at this moment, Your Honor. Mainly just going to ask for, since I don't know how much time you're going to give us for our post brief, I was doing it mainly ask for an extended amount of time depending on how much time you were going to, because it takes about 10 days for us to get the transcript from the court reporter. And so we would need some time to be able to go through the transcript and maybe use some of that transcript as part of our post-submission brief.
Okay. Okay. And I'm turning away because I'm writing down some notes. I'm not ignoring you.
I understand.
Okay. Just at a guesstimate, if you had to guess right now, how much time do you think you will take your presentation?
I think to be on the safe side, because we're dealing with about 4 different complaints that we had, I would
Mhm.
probably say somewhere around 2 hours, maybe 3.
2 to 3 hours. Okay. And I'm sure all the parties and attorneys would agree to work diligently at stipulating as to authenticity of exhibits and other things along that line too.
Yes,
we
Your
will, yeah, we will ask you to do that, but anything else before I turn to Judge Rangel and Mr. Cardenas?
Not at present, Your Honor. Excuse me.
Mr. Robertson, anything that Ms. Thomas forgot?
General counsel rarely forgets anything, Judge.
We're all human. So, okay. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you, Justice. With respect to the evidence, of course, Judge Rangel, I anticipate at this time she will be testifying. And we had submitted at the commission level affidavits of, I think there, if I'm not mistaken, there were 10 affidavits and they're all attorneys. And they, as far as I can recall, they were all directly involved in the specific instances or hearings that are being alleged as judicial misconduct. So that they're not character witnesses, they're not she's a great judge, anything like that. There's some of that within those affidavits, but primarily we're going to try to stick to the specific allegations involved. So there's up to 10. I don't anticipate that we'll have all of those. I haven't made that decision yet. But in keeping with what you're asking for, I would conservatively say that we in our case would be about a half a day.
Define half a day for me.
4 to 5 hours.
Just curiously, you said the affidavits, maybe up to 10 affidavits, and you mentioned that these were affidavits that were submitted previously. Is that correct?
That is correct. As part of our response to the allegations that were submitted to the commission prior to the informal hearing. Yes.
Did anybody object to you submitting those affidavits in front of the commission?
Ms. Thomas can correct me, but I don't believe so, Judge.
No, and those affidavits are included in that 9B material that's with the charges.
Okay, very good. At this point, Ms. Thomas, do you foresee any problem with those affidavits? Any basis for objection to asking us not to consider them?
No, Your Honor, at the moment, though some of them might not actually have to do with the specific conduct that we actually sanctioned her for. Her case had a lot of other things, but the commission only sanctioned her for the demeanors within the video, and then of course having to do with a motion for recusal. And so some of those affidavits might not be relevant based off which ones we're actually going to discuss at this de novo trial.
Okay. I guess that can be pointed out. I'm just kind of curious at this point. Mr. Cardenas, you expect any type of pretrial motions?
Judge, I think I might have one, but I guess I would need to know what the deadline to file that is. I'm sure you want to get that considered sooner than later. If you'll let me know when I should file one, if I do, I'll keep within that time frame.
Can you feel free to give us a description of the type of pretrial motion you are thinking, or is at this point you're still cogitating on it?
I'm cogitating, but to not be, I'm not trying to be coy or elusive, but it's going to be basically on due process grounds at the proceedings at the commission level.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's what I have to answer your questions on those matters, Judge.
Given the timing, holidays are coming up next month, of course, November. And I'll be quite honest, I've got some conflicts already, court conflicts, and I think some of the other justices may have some court conflicts as well. The initial deadline, and am I mistaken in assuming or applying the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure when you're talking about the last day of a deadline falling on a Sunday, it rolls over to the next non-Sunday, not next holiday?
You're correct, Your Honor. The rules of civil procedure and evidence are for this de novo trial.
Okay. So I'm sorry.
That is my understanding as well, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking at November 7th, and which is just right around the corner. Let me ask you, do any of the parties anticipate filing or asking for a little bit more time than that?
Ms.
Would
Thomas,
you be amenable to a little bit more time?
Yes, Your Honor, I would definitely be amenable to more time.
Okay.
And I will say why, because presently I have another SCR that's presently right now set for November the 4th. And my other side says they're going to put in a motion for continuance, but it hasn't happened yet. And so I right now in the midst of getting ready for that, that SCR presently.
Okay. Mr. Cardenas, you're smiling. Oh, you got a comment?
I was glad to hear Ms. Thomas say that she's amenable to more time, because I was going to ask for more time. Justices, I have a trial that I'm picking a jury on November 10th. And then for some reason we're off. I guess the 11th is a holiday, so we don't start with the evidence until November 14th. And then
I
the
think
next
11th is probably Veterans Day.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. And then, so I'll be in trial that following week. Then the week after that is Thanksgiving holiday. So I was going to explore the idea if we can have this hearing before you all during the week of December 5th, or even starting December 2nd, which is a Friday. And then as long as we keep within the 60-day deadline. So that's what I was going to ask for or propose, and perhaps Ms. Thomas and I can agree on that.
Ms. Thomas, what do you think? Just out of curiosity.
My only problem with that particular week is that's a week of our commission meeting week. So I have commission meetings that week. So I'm amenable to the week after, but for at least definitely the 7th and the 8th and maybe the 9th, I'm in commission meetings.
Okay, 7th, 8th, and 9th of December, you're in commission meetings.
Correct.
Let me ask you this, and again, the justices, if you have any questions, please chime in, or any comments. But are you amenable to a Zoom, either all Zoom or a hybrid Zoom hearing?
I am, yes.
Mr. Cardenas? And if you want to talk with Judge Rangel first before you commit, that's fine too.
Judge, I have conferred with the judge. Excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. I think it's allergies. But we discussed being amenable to Zoom. Being out here in far West Texas in a different time zone, it's easier for us to get travel and flying and hotels and things like that we wouldn't have to deal with, and especially if we have a live witness or two. So we would agree to Zoom. But when you say hybrid, Judge, what do you mean by hybrid?
Hybrid being some justices show up at the location and some appear by Zoom. I'm just looking at all options.
Okay.
We haven't chosen how we're going to do it. I will say this, the justices have thought about potential locations if it was going to be live. And the main one was in Austin. We did discuss the possibility of going to El Paso as well. I'm sure if that were to be the selection, I can arrange with CJ Rodriguez of the 8th Court to use her court at a mutually convenient time. But again, these were just ideas that we spoke of. I'm from El Paso, so I wouldn't mind going home.
We would welcome you out here, justices, and we promise we have the best Mexican food.
Only if it's in my mom's house.
Okay.
Well, counsel, we're gonna have to disagree about that.
No, I've got to admit.
Just a disclosure, Carlos and I were in law school together. I have not seen you in about, God, how many years? It's been about 30, 40 years. But good to see you in good health, Mr. Cardenas.
It's been 42, Judge.
Oh, gosh. Hey, you just aged us.
So Judge Hinojosa, Justice Hinojosa, you got into law school when you were about 3 years old?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That kind of helps with the time parameters. Any of the other justices have questions or ideas at this point? Anything they would like to broach?
I've got just something out of curiosity. I'm not going to try to hold you to it, Mr. Cardenas, but there was a question asked about objections to affidavits. Do you anticipate any objections as to the use of the 4 videos?
I don't, to be quite honest, Justice, but I would ask to defer after I talk to Judge Rangel. But I will try to streamline this for everybody's sake.
Okay.
You think there'll be any questions about the authenticity of the videos or anything like that, or proving them up?
That's what I'm saying. My initial answer is no.
Okay.
But I still would like the opportunity to consult with my client in case there is an issue.
Justice Goldman, any other questions?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Justice Hinojosa, any questions? I think your screen may have frozen, Judge.
Mine?
Okay. Do you have any other questions? You have any questions or ideas, Judge Hinojosa?
No, I don't.
Okay. Anything I've forgotten? Anything that you'd like to know from us at this point?
I guess just as the only thing I was going to suggest, because the rules are so stringent, if we end up scheduling it in December, do we have to do it by a motion or by a court order of some sort, just to make sure that, or is this hearing sufficient to allow for the extension beyond the 30 days?
I think that's a very good point. And what I'm going to ask of, since Ms. Thomas and the state broached it first, that I'm going to ask them to file a motion for continuance. If Mr. Cardenas would care to join it, that's fine. But explain why the continuance is needed. So we'll just have something to document the record, so to speak, and we'll act on that. Ms. Thomas, can you do that?
I can do that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Justice Hinojosa, you think that'll cover it?
I think so. I just want to make sure that, and if they have an agreed to date or proposed date, then we can consider it. And when we approve the motion or grant it partially or whatever we need to do. But if you would coordinate your calendars and give us a proposed date. And in the motion, say that Zoom is, if you all are in agreement to Zoom, that you are in agreement, and also have signed by both counsel.
Justices, would
sorry?
it be?
Go on, I'm sorry.
Okay, would it be perhaps more convenient for everybody, for you all primarily, if Ms. Thomas and I can agree to 2 or 3 different dates that would be best for the 3 of you?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. That would be because I know that Justice Goldman and I have some conflicts in December as well. So options would be appreciated. I would ask that you file the motion for continuance, if possible, before the end of the week, so we can just start that ball rolling. And what we'll do is, and if your motion continuance, you propose those alternate dates, we will go on and select, the judges will go on and select one and then work backwards and create a scheduling order with dates for filing trial briefs, pre-trial motions, things along that line. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your dates you select, especially since you'll be coming off of Thanksgiving, and
Right.
I don't intend, or I don't think any of us want anybody to have to work over Thanksgiving. I think that's a time needs to be spent with family. But keep that in mind when you're selecting your dates too.
I will get with Mr. Cardenas and we will discuss those so that I can get you a motion by the end of this week.
Okay. Anything else?
I have a question or two,
Yes, sir.
Justice. Although I've been a lawyer for 42 years, as we've mentioned, and I've been board certified in administrative law, this is only my second case that I've had before the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, but my first special court of review case. Is there discovery allowed in this process before this panel?
You know, I can't say I'm an expert on special courts of review. This is my second as well. I have not experienced a discovery. What would you anticipate needing? Let's go that way first.
Well, just to flesh out some of these complaints and get more particulars, that kind of even out or balance out the evidence as opposed to just what's being presented on behalf of the state.
I do, and again, correct me, I'll refer to the state on this since they're the ones that have probably more expertise in it, given the nature of their job. But correct me if I'm wrong, we're told that the rules of civil procedure apply and those rules include discovery rules. Is there something that prohibits discovery or says discovery rules are not applicable to these type of proceedings?
There is nothing within the statute nor in our rules that say that. So discovery is applicable. I will say that for the special courts review that I've been involved in, we've never really had discovery, mainly because it's usually such a short time period that we have to get in briefs and then have the hearing and then do the post briefs. So usually we don't have time to do discovery.
And that's kind of the wrench in the whole thing. When they talk about having an initial hearing within 30 days, it really doesn't contemplate discovery, but then they do incorporate the rules of procedure. So it's kind of an odd bird, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Why don't we do this? That'd be something else. Give us the dates, your proposed hearing dates, and we will do a scheduling order. That order now will broach discovery too. We'll have a discovery deadline, which will probably have to transpire before your trial briefs are due, which would mean discovery would have to proceed post haste if somebody's going to do discovery. So again, if you can file your motion for continuance by Friday with your proposed dates, and the justices on this panel will act in post haste and get you a scheduling order, and we'll go from there. Any other, Mr. Cardenas, any other questions?
I believe that covers it, Justice. Thank you, sir.
Justice Quinn, I was just gonna ask the attorneys, I don't know if this is in order, but from my trial judge days, I remember we sometimes asked the lawyers to propose a scheduling order so that we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel here. So, you know, obviously we want to give everybody their fair day in court, and if you all can agree to a proposed scheduling order, we'll certainly, I think, would be, well served with that, so.
That was my comment too, because obviously, other than what we've already mentioned, any witness list, exhibit list, any stipulations, pretrial submission memorandum, and then Ms. Thomas did bring this up, the post-submission brief. She mentioned it took 10 days to get the court reporter's record of the hearing, and obviously there's got to be I would assume that Judge Rangel would want to do a post-submission brief response herself, and then the state would probably want to do a reply brief. So y'all can keep those things in mind to be included in the scheduling order. It'd make our job a lot easier too.
We will do
Sounds
that.
good.
Yes.
Sounds good. And can you, again, time constraints involved, can you get us your proposed scheduling order along with your motion for continuance?
Yes, Your Honor.
We
So
will.
you guys will be busy for the next couple of days addressing this,
Yes.
and we would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Very well.
Any other questions, or? Mr. Cardenas, did I cut you off?
No, I didn't have any more questions. I just want to thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And again, I was driving up to the office today and I realized that there is a time change in El Paso. So I want to thank you and Judge Rangel for getting up earlier and getting ready for a 7:30 hearing.
Oh, wow.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that. And Judge Rodriguez, CJ Rodriguez reminds us every once in a while when we have our chiefs meetings that you got to consider that El Paso's in a different time zone. So, but
Well,
thank you.
it gets me out of bed earlier, so that's a good thing.
Well, thank you for agreeing to this time, and we appreciate your participation. We look forward to your motion for continuance, proposed scheduling order by Friday. And with that, we will go on recess. And Mr. Ramirez, would you mind allowing the parties and their counsel to step away off of this YouTube? And I would like to talk with the justices for a second, please.
Thank you, Justice. Maybe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you.